Okay, a'udzubillahi minasyaitanirrajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So this is the recording for our lecture of topic number 8, and please refer to chapter 12 in Lucas book, and the title for this particular topic is using language. So talking about this particular topic, I hope that after reading this chapter, students should be able to, number one, explain why the effective use of language is vital, is important to a public speaker. Number two, explain the differences between denotative and connotative meaning. Number three, I hope that after reading this chapter, you should be able to explain the importance of using language accurately in public speeches. Number four, identify 3 methods public speakers can use in helping to ensure that their language will be clear to listeners or to audience. Number 5, explain how public speakers can use imagery and rhythm to help bring their ideas to life. And number 6, explain why public speakers need to use inclusive language and identify 4 ways they can do so. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. As an introduction, we need to know that language is so important. Contrary or different to popular belief, language does not simply mirror reality. For instance, if you are using some proverbs, some nice words, okay, or beautiful words, some peribahasa, okay, in Malay we call it as peribahasa. It does not directly mirroring the reality of the message that we try to deliver. So language helps create our sense of reality by giving meaning to events. Okay, in the events of asking the audience to feel happy. So the language that we deliver in bringing the meaning of happiness must create the sense of reality of happiness. Okay, by using nice words, appropriate words, words that accordingly reflecting the reality of happiness. Same goes to if you're trying to deliver things which wants the audience to feel the sadness. So language will help us in creating the sadness among the audience. And then words are the tools of a speaker's craft. This is true because if you are using wrong words and you try to convey meaning, okay, with wrong words, so the objective will not be achieved in your speech. Talking about meanings of words, words have 2 kind of meaning. We call it as denotative and connotative. What is denotative? A denotative meaning is precise, literal, and objective. We use words which is reflecting 100% the meaning that we want to deliver. And this is a bit different. This is different with connotative meaning, whereby connotative meaning is more variable, figurative, and subjective. So we can use some words which might give several meanings, okay? Or we want to use some idioms or some proverbs which reflecting, okay, a meaning but in any other kind of words. What is the example? What are the examples? Okay, bagai melentur buluh dari rebung. Itu adalah that is one Malay proverbs, isn't it? So melentur buluh biarlah dari rebung is a kind of connotative meaning. Okay, if we want to use denotative meaning, so we use the precise words. For instance, melentul buluh biar dari rebung, connotative. So if we denotate it, it will be like kalau nak mendidik anak, make sure that we if we want to educate our children, make sure that we educate them from their young age. And then choosing words skillfully for their denotative and connotative meanings is a crucial part, is an important part of the speaker's art. Sometimes we use several idioms, we use some proverbs, okay, or some word clutter, okay. It is not really appropriate at one point of our speech because it is not delivering the meaning that we try to deliver. So make sure that we choose words skillfully, okay, for their denotative and connotative meaning, okay, at the right time, at the right place, so that the audience will not been trapped in confusion, or they didn't understand, they didn't really get whatever we want to deliver. Using language accurately, okay, is a need, okay, it's a need for a public speaker. Why? Because using language accurately is as vital to a speaker as using numbers accurately is to an accountant. For a lawyer, for instance, using the right case or preceding cases is so important to them. So it is the same with a public speaker. They need to use language accurately because this is the weapon of a public speaker. Speakers who have serious aspirations should develop a systematic plan for improving their vocabulary. So it means that if you want to use language accurately, make sure you read and read and read. Make sure you get from multiple sources in terms of the meaning of maybe connotative, right? Just now we talk about connotative and denotative meaning. So make sure that we know a lot of angles in delivering speech using connotative and denotative words, alright? Contohnya apa? Sudah gaharu cendana pula, sudah tahu bertanya pula. Okay, we need to know that that is a kind of nice words, okay, being used by generation to another generation, okay, and it been passed over until until you lah, you the generation Z, okay, you understand the conception of sudah gaharu cendana pula, sudah tahu bertanya pula, kan? Alright, next, using language clearly. Just now we talk about using language accurately, tepat. Now we need to know the skill of using language clearly. So public speakers need to use language clearly. Because listeners cannot turn to a dictionary or they don't have enough time, okay, to reread our words in discovering the meaning. So a speaker's meaning must be immediately comprehensible. It must be understandable. It is clear. We are using some connotative and denotative meanings or words, no problem. But we need to make sure that the language that we use is clear. Okay, because the audience will not have sebenarnya dia malas. Audience dia bukan malas. Maksudnya they don't really want to spend another time, okay, to reread or to rethink about whatever we had delivered in our speech, okay, whatever we delivered, specifically the words, okay, that we use, they don't really bother about that. So make sure that we use clear language so that it is comprehensible, boleh difahami, understandable. So one way to ensure that a speaker's meaning is clear is to use familiar words. We use familiar words with our audience. Okay, if you know that our audience is very familiar with several jargons or several specific words, so we use that with them. So it is familiar with them. They use it almost every day. So inshallah, okay, it will be a clear language. Okay. A second way to ensure that a speaker's meaning is clear is to use concrete words. Concrete words. Okay, not something which is vague ataupun tak concrete lah. Alright. And a third way to ensure that a speaker's meaning is clear is to eliminate linguistic clutter. Okay, what is the example? What are the examples of linguistic clutter? You can find it by yourselves. Okay, but I give you several examples. Okay, what is word clutter? Word clutter means we are using two words when one suggests the other. Okay, it means that we are having two words to explain the same thing. For example, we always have it in our daily life. Okay, blue in color. It is actually simpler, clearer. Okay, by having blue only. Okay. For instance, you want to explain something with blue color. You say that okay. Those clouds are blue in color. Okay, itulah namanya. That's the example of word clutter. What if we just say okay, the skies now are blue. Okay, so it's enough. And then what? Personal friend. Personal friend is friend. Okay, so what is the difference between personal friend? Okay, with friend. So it's enough to have friend. I have a friend. Compared to using word clutter, I have a personal friend. It's still the same. Okay. Or another thing, completely destroy. Destroy means musnah. Okay. So completely destroy. What's the difference with destroy? Okay. The house destroyed in a fire. The house is completely destroyed in a fire. So it's not really useful. Okay, when we have this word clutter, it's a kind of nak nampak fancy, want to look fancy in using language and so on. So it is not actually necessary if we want to use language clearly. Okay, so please read the examples that we have in Lucas textbook. Okay, in terms of using language clearly with three ways. Okay, by having what we call as using familiar words. Number two, using concrete words. And the third one, we eliminate linguistic clutter. Okay, next. As a public speaker, when you're using your language, make sure that you can use your language vividly. So talking about using language vividly, okay, we have two partitions, or we have two we have two categories. Okay, number one, imagery, and number two, rhythm. Okay, so effective speakers use imagery in expressing their ideas vividly. Okay, number one way to generate imagery is to use concrete word. Okay, still, okay, it's the same with to use language clearly. So in using language vividly, we can generate imagery by using concrete words. A second way to generate imagery is through the use of simile. Contoh yang serupa. A third way to generate imagery is through the use of metaphor. Okay, metaphor ni adalah perlambangan, metafora. It is a kind of imagination lah. Okay, so please look into the examples, okay, in Lucas textbook, okay, on how we want to use language vividly, okay, in terms of imagery, by having what we call as using concrete words, using what we call as simile, okay, or using metaphor. I always use metaphor in my class, okay, in order to show my students, okay, about something vividly, so that they can have that metaphor, and I always use simile as well, okay, in order to show you the students about a thing that I try to deliver. Okay, so please look into the examples that Lucas had provided, okay, and then you will understand these three categories of imagery in terms of using language vividly. Next is using language vividly, okay, in terms of rhythm. Effective speakers use rhythm in enhancing the vividness of their discourse. Language has a rhythm created by the choice and arrangement of words. Okay, there are 4 basic stylistic devices for enhancing the rhythm of a speech. Number 1, and the first device is parallelism, the similar arrangement of a pair or series of related words, phrases or sentences. Okay, among others we can use maybe poem, sajak, maybe pantun. Okay, when we are having this kind of rhythmic words, okay, it will actually invite the audience to express feel the beautiful the beauty of the words that we use, which in the same time they understand whatever we try to deliver to them. Okay, for example, apa pantunnya yang kita biasa ni kan guna. Contohnya macam apa, buah cempedak di luar pagar. Gar, okay. Ambil galah tolong jolokkan. Kan. Saya budak baru belajar. Okay, just now gar and jar. Kalau salah, tolong tunjukkan. Jolokkan, tunjukkan. So, that's what we call as a parallelism. Alright, we have some pair of or series of related words, phrases or sentences. And then the second device is repetition. We repeat the same word or set of words at the beginning or at the end of a successful clauses or sentences. So by having such repetition, okay, it will create the vividness, okay, because this is a kind of rhythmic kind of words. We have the repetition at the very beginning or at the ending of a successful clauses or sentences. And then the third device is alliteration. Apa itu alliteration? It is repeating the initial consonant sound in close or adjoining words. Okay, it is a bit similar with parallelism actually. Okay, but this is related to words only, adjoining words. Alright. Contohnya macam dia ada belakang dia ada macam S. So every each kind of adjoining words will have that S. Or so we have those alright. And then the fourth device is antithesis. We juxtaposing, contrasting idea, usually in parallel structure. So these 4 kind of stylistic devices in enhancing the rhythm of a speech, I think you can look into Lucas examples, okay, or you can Google to understand how we want to use rhythm in delivering our language vividly. Okay, next. Using language appropriately is also one important tool, okay, for a speaker in using his language, okay, in his speech. Public speakers need to use language appropriately, bersesuaian. A speaker's language should be appropriate to the occasion. If you are having an occasion with maybe school students, so make sure that the language that we use with the school students is at par to their age, at par to their understanding. We cannot use some high jargon, some unfamiliar jargons, okay, which is so alien to the ears of the student. Alright. And then a speaker's language should be appropriate to the audience. Okay, so sorry, the example just now is related to audience. But when we talk about occasion, it must be related to occasion. If you are delivering a speech in surau, for instance, after Maghrib prayer, you are delivering tazkirah. So make sure the occasion, the words that we use is really related to the occasion. Okay. If you are having contohnya macam birthday party, so you need to deliver a short speech about the birthday boy. So make sure that the occasion of the birthday, okay, is appropriate, okay, with the language that we try to deliver, okay, and so on. So be appropriate to the audience, okay. This is related to the example that I gave you just now, okay. if you are delivering maybe speech among adults, so make sure that the words that you use is professional. Okay, you are delivering to the manner that the audience of adults can accept, understand. Okay, so it will be far different with when you are delivering your speech among the school students. So make sure that you understand the appropriateness of the words that we use to the different audiences. Next is a speaker's language should be appropriate to the topic. If you are delivering a topic of religious topic, so make sure that words that we use appropriate to the religious topic. Maybe if you are using some party kind of speech, or we have an occasion of maybe dinner, okay, or lunch, so make sure that the language that we use is appropriate to the topic, okay, that we try to deliver in that luncheon or dinner and so on. And then a speaker's language should be appropriate to the speakers himself or herself. Okay, we are not using words which we are not familiar with. Okay, so make sure that it is appropriate to ourselves. Okay. Alright, next, it is about inclusive language. So this is very simple. Public speakers are more effective when they use inclusive language. Audiences today expect public speakers to use inclusive language that is respectful of the different groups that make up American or maybe Malaysian society. So we use language which suitable with the different races, ethnicity, okay, which can capture the most, okay, of the audience, which is sitting in front of us. For instance, several years ago, I went to Sandakan. I delivered a motivational speech, okay, among different ethnicity of Bumiputra in Sandakan. I found that among the audience, okay, they are the MRSM students over there, Tun Fuad Stephens MRSM in Sandakan. So I found that there are more than 10 races, okay, among the audience that I have, okay, on that particular occasion. The first day, I delivered my speech among the students only. The next day, I delivered my parental speech, motivational speech to the students and the parents. So it is so important for me to have what we call as inclusive language. By the time I discovered that there are more than 10 races, 10 ethnicity in the first day, so on that particular night, okay, I did some homework. I did collected several local languages, okay, and then I use it, okay, in the next day, okay, in the second day, so that the audience will feel invited, they will feel included, okay, and then the delivery of the meaning or the message of my speech, insyaAllah, alhamdulillah, is okay with the respectful audience. So there are 4 principles, okay, for inclusive language. Okay, this is more than what I had give you just now as an example. So there are 4 principles for inclusive language that have become so widespread that no aspiring speaker can afford to ignore them. Okay, no aspiring speaker can afford to ignore them. Number 1, the first principle is to avoid the generic he. So what about she? Okay, so make sure that we try to avoid he. Okay, at least we say that he or she. That's the way lah. And then number 2, the second principle is to avoid using men when referring to both men and women. So this is a bit different with our society, our culture. So we don't find a problem of using this man word, okay. But for those in maybe Western, okay, they use men to represent men and women. So this is not really correct, okay, in their language, okay, English. So in our local culture, okay, the problem of using this man word is not so obvious lah. Alright, alhamdulillah. The third one the third principle is to avoid stereotyping jobs and social roles by gender. We are not discriminating gender, okay, in terms of using inclusive language. Okay, and then this might be like this lah. Okay, you try to show that there are differences in terms of different job. Okay, different jobs at a workplace. So you might made some mistakes by saying that several jobs or several occupation is not really good. Okay, so it will create what we call as declusive, not inclusive. For instance, you said that, okay, dear students, you are delivering what we call as motivational talk. Alright, okay, dear students, I hope that you will study nicely, you will study hardly, you will study smartly, so that in the future you will not work like those out there. Okay, they they work as garbage collector. Okay, apa lagi, rubber taper and so on. Whereas among those audience, among the students, the parents work as rubber taper, the parents work as garbage collector. So this is what we call as, we need to take a good care of these stereotyping jobs and social roles. Okay, those are not by gender, but those are by the rank in society. So by gender as well. Okay, so make sure that we take a good care of these differences in terms of demographic background. Alright, and then the fourth principle is to use names that groups use to identify themselves. Okay, mungkin for instance, you are delivering speech among those in Kelantan, Terengganu and Pahang. You might want to use some jargon like gu kita ataupun set kita, ataupun mungkin nak kata orang Patah Timur. So this is what we call as using names that groups use in identifying themselves. So it will make what we call as inclusive environment among the audience. Alright, that's all. So I hope that you understand, okay, whatever I had discussed with you, okay, just now. And the lecture is so short. If you are having any problems understanding some parts or the whole part of this particular topic or chapter, please you can email me or WhatsApp me, okay, and I will inshallah assist you. And make sure that you can read, okay, your textbook, okay, nicely. Okay, and thank you very much for those who had submitted your group activity, right? And then the mind map that you have created is so nice, okay, and I hope that those mind map can be used as a guidance for you to understand this particular topic better. So wallahu alam bisawab. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. Bye bye.